So I've got a idea that I'm running around trying to figure out how to build an online internet-based business. My background is in VR, AR, software development. So transitioning into virtual advertising is something that's been playing on my mind. Basically, with an agency, the challenge that you get there is that it's a service based business and you tend to offer one off solutions, which also means that you can't continually charge, which means there's basically no income coming in once you've delivered the job. The downside with no ongoing income is continually having to find new customers. And the problem with finding new customers all the time, it is just that perpetual cycle, the high cost in acquiring new customers. It's a bit of a, yeah, it's more than a challenge. It's more than a challenge. I think most people, once they've figured out or they've done an agency model, they then transition into teaching and they'll set up an online course. And that online course basically shows you or shows other people how to set up an agency. We've seen a million courses like that already. I'm sure you've probably seen some yourself. And the problem with that is, I don't know. There's not really a problem with that, I suppose. There's not really a problem with that. I just find it a bit boring, I guess. You can create package options. Those package options are products that scale. You can offer this ongoing support or mentorship, and you get to build an online community. And it's much easier to scale. I suppose the other benefit here is that you can do it anywhere in the world. And that's also a lifesaver in and of itself. It's a good reason to get into the teaching courses side of things. Where I am more interested in is product company. And of course, creating a product with software is really challenging. There is an alternative, and that's content. Now, I did consider, well, maybe going down the agency part two route. The point being with an agency part two would be that do everything as above except offer ongoing content production, which would then mean recurring revenue. Which means, yeah, you basically can keep scaling it. And I mean, that's ultimately, yeah, in a way, then you don't have to worry about trying to find that next customer, bringing them in through the pipeline. So this would, yeah, content production. And I suppose that's where I'm at right now. It's actually that blurring between the two. The other option was to create, or is to create, some sort of a game or an application that allows that the base it scales. The thing is, this is more of a B to C. And what I'm curious about is whether that's really, I don't know, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like a B to C business model is hard. Customers are hard when there's just this massive shift, because it's pretty evident that companies have excruciatingly more, like much larger paychecks to be able to spend on things. Going direct to consumer, the challenge with that is you end up, they've people don't have that much money to be able to spend. They're not going to splash out $1,000 here and there, and if they do, they're really concerned about what value they're getting back in return. And if anything is slightly off, and you don't go above and beyond to the millionth degree and even surprise them, they're going to come and want a refund. Think about how much money Netflix spends to create content versus how much they end up charging people per month in return. So that's if you're going down the B to C route. Now I'm wondering whether B to B, is that an option? So if B2B was an option, I'd suppose that would be product company part two, similar to we have agency part two over here. And if we've got product part two and our focus is on B2B businesses, what would that look like? Well, if we brought it back to be along the lines of this ongoing content production, it would be a application that offers ongoing use. Businesses would pay for continual use. And where I'm thinking the solution would lie, if we were to combine well, at least with my skill set and my background in this building of agencies around virtual reality and augmented reality, I really want to build a 3D virtual universe where people can, it could be branded. It could be a branded world. It would be, what else? So what are the benefits of it? Branded content. What else would you benefit out of this virtual world? It would have to be scalable. It would have to be accessible. And I mean accessible in terms of the corporate, like the business, would they use it for training application or marketing? as in using it to create marketing content. Training application, marketing application, or it's their product, I suppose. Like if you sold, yeah. I think the pairing between these two could be interesting. So the reason for pairing them is that the agency component allows you to create new content inside of a designated 3D world. The 3D world should stay the same, as in the 3D world is actually a platform rather than a product. And that is the transition. I think that's the missing piece. Platform is greater than a product. So this platform would allow for, in this instance, calling it vSpaces, virtual spaces, virtual rooms. We could have a cookie cutter model where the virtual room is as is. It's an empty room, and a business will pay to have that room accessible to customers. The customers would be basically encouraged by the brand or the business to come in and engage and interact and have fun. It would be part of a marketing. So the business would use their virtual shop space to sell more of their product. So let's see, how about we illustrate how that virtual world works. So the virtual world sits in the middle. So over here, we're going to have customer. And we're going to have the brands. So what the brand is inside of that 3D world. Business/brand. So the brand is inside of the 3D virtual world. The customer, the business is going to have to market to the customer. So that's something, that's not what we offer. I don't really think that that's the way to go. So the business will be in charge of their own marketing. And the marketing is to the customer. The customers come into the virtual world and they experience the business or brand's physical product. So once the customer comes in and experiences that, they could come out this other end and want to purchase. Let's see, I might extend that. So then they want to buy something. At the end of the day, they need to buy something, it seems. Like I don't think any brand is going to, like any brand/business is going to want to use a 3D world unless they get some sort of ROI. So then the test is going to be whether the customer buys something. Will they be willing to pay and purchase something? So what is that thing going to be? What can you sell through a virtual experience? It could be a physical product, I suppose. Like if it was, let's use IKEA as an example. If you had virtual IKEA furniture, would someone inside of the 3D space decide to purchase the IKEA furniture piece after they've seen it in a 3D virtual world? Is there a potential for, probably the easier way would be to take physical things, digitize them, and put them into a virtual environment, a virtual room. Then when the customer comes in, they're already coming in with the expectation that everything they can see virtually, they can purchase, and it will be shipped to them. So the prerequisite for being one of these businesses, the business will have to be able to sell their product in a way that it can be purchased through this virtual world. And once someone buys in the virtual world, the product will have to be shipped to the customer. So that would be effectively, that would be how the brand could be sold on the ROI, like how much they could make. It'd be using this as a marketing platform. What else could it be used for if we're considering this as a platform? Brands could use it to create marketing material. So by that, the brand would, within the 3D environment, be able to create their marketing content. So the marketing content then doesn't reside with a external agency or team. They would create marketing material inside of the 3D virtual space. Then that marketing material would be sent to the customer, and the customers would then go and buy something, physical product, etc., service, anything like that. So the question still comes down to, can you use a virtual 3D world to sell something? Something, yeah, physical, virtual, maybe a service. I think if we talk about that, we need to talk about how do you sell something inside of a 3D world. One idea, and something that we've played around with, is, that's huge, is the idea that we can have a virtual person, sales assistant. The business could be selling something different. It doesn't have to be a physical product. Could be a digital. With the virtual sales assistant, the idea would be that the brand would potentially rent the virtual sales assistant, and the sales assistant would then engage with the customers and sell them on something, buying something within that virtual space. And we can keep going with this, like, as a platform. I think the challenge is with the businesses. I need to figure out how, if you were to use 3D worlds, how would you help businesses make more money by utilizing a 3D space? Could be advertising space, right? But you're creating that marketing or that advertising space inside of a 3D world. But then we need to, at what point does the business take over and make an actual transaction, an actual sale to their customer? Do they do that while they're inside of the virtual 3D world? Probably, because then we can actually measure how many sales in this virtual environment is occurring, which means that the 3D world, which will need to have a payment gateway, kind of like a Shopify, 3D Shopify. And that's an idea in and of itself. What would Shopify be like if it was a 3D experience? Now, would you turn it into a shop then? Is it about being a 3D shop, or is it about being a 3D experience? And that, for me, I think is more, at least for me, that turns me on more. The idea that we create experiences that people can discover and be amazed by and have a connection with. But will a business or a brand really get that? I'm not sure. So that might be on us. That might be what we build, is we create these 3D experiences and we come up with our own virtual friends. These virtual friends will be, something that people are willing to engage with and want to engage with. I think creating objects of desire, virtual objects of desire, that people discover and then want, that's an interesting subject. With the 3D experience, I mean, this can be 3D content just as easily. We can host virtual events in our space. So then if we're creating virtual events, it could be a product launch. The only downside is that a brand won't want to continually pay if it's just for a virtual one-off event. Whereas if they have a shop front, virtual shop front, they will continually want to pay for it. You don't want to have a shop front like in real life. You don't want to go to the shop and one day it's open, and the inconsistency, you come back the next day, you realize it's closed today, but you didn't know. There's the inconsistency there. There's a lot of money that goes into a virtual event. It's fun. You get to explore and you get to have experiences. But the downside is that typically a business will only think that their event will happen once and then that's it. So they build up, they market it, the date occurs, and it could be one day, it could be a week, maybe a month at max, and then it's over. But what if we could continually host experiences that were events, but they were shopping events where people can come in and experience a brand, talk with virtual assistants that became more like virtual friends, that they could then experience a product which would lead them to buying that. Just some food for thought there.